Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sofa Sports News football show brought to you by the FNX network. I'm your host, Harry, and this evening I'm joined by the fisherman, Mr. Alavi. He's back. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. How was your trip?
Oh yeah, it was good. Yeah, my the guy who writes for us, my cousin,
Ah,
he writes the manual articles. Andy,
yep.
he got married, so yeah, it was nice.
Big shout out to Mr. Andy. Congratulations on your marriage, mate.
It
It's all downhill from now.
is, mate. It is.
We're also joined by a Sofa Sports News debutant, Mr. Panny. How you doing, mate?
All good, mate. You?
Good, man. Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We thought we got rid of the Spurs fans when we got rid of DeLuca tonight, but we replaced him with another one. So DeLuca, watch out. Right, let's start off at Wembley. Spurs were held to a 0-0 draw by Swansea. Another disappointing results at the National Stadium for the hosts. Despite having 23 attempts at goal and dominating the possession. Panny, what do you think went wrong for Spurs this weekend?
As you said, Harry, mate, it's a bit of a funny one. The excuses keep coming out, and like I've got my team to get back for this year at Wembley. I wanted the year off, to be honest, because I knew exactly what would happen. Did I think it would be this bad? Probably not. I didn't think we'd win games, to be truthful. But the fact is so boring, mate. The football is not great at all. From what we had last year, we finished the league 14 wins out of 14, playing quality football. Typically the Spurs way, with a bit of hungerness as well from Poch. But to be honest, mate, I'm not entirely sure what the situation is. I'm actually starting to think it's more leaning towards the players. The manager rather than the players. It just seems like with the way he's setting the team out, it is a bit of a fear behind him, which is a bit surprising because of the way, what we've seen from his days at Southampton and especially with us over the past 2 years. So that's a bit of a strange one, mate. It looks like there's a bit of a fear in his mind where he keeps changing the team, going a bit too defensive, too safe, put it that way.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by his team selection this week, though. I was a bit surprised that Davis was left out. I don't know if there was another reason behind that.
He was tired apparently from the Champions League.
Dortmund game, yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Tired.
Son played. Yeah, I mean that's why Son played left back. I mean, you saw what happened last time Son played. Obviously left wing back, but I guess that's why Poch moved him into midfield pretty quickly. And I was Panny. I mean, the second half surely was an improvement, wasn't it? Because you want Son in a further position upfield, and I actually thought he was unlucky to be taken off. I thought Ali should have been taken off, if I'm honest with you.
Exactly that. We were sitting there waiting for a bit of a change, and I remember seeing the players come out half time, and you just see Trippier go from the tunnel straight over to left wing back. Now, I'm not being funny, but that guy's got one of the best deliveries in the Premier League, especially as a wing back. Yet he can't kick a ball with his left foot. As good as he's on his right, he can't kick a ball with his left. So he's going to put him left wing back to put the new boy, was it Aurier, on as right back, who's, to be fair to him, he had a decent game against Dortmund. But it was so unbalanced. You can see what the manager's doing, as you say, he's pushing Son a bit further forwards, try and nick a goal or try and play a bit more attacking. But every time Trippier was getting the ball on the left, it was literally cut back to it would have been Jan. I've never seen Trippier pass the ball back to Jan Vertonghen so many times. Jan must have touched the ball more than anyone on the whole pitch. So it was, in that respect, going forwards, yeah, it helped putting Son there. But from minute one to the end, it was just so unbalanced. And yeah, as you said, if Ben Davies is tired, then we've got problems there.
Yeah,
I did think you were unlucky. I mean, Harry, sorry to talk, but me and Harry both said, and I know you probably won't admit it being an Arsenal fan, but you should have had a penalty. And we both think the handball was actually fine not to be given, but the foul for me. And I'm not just saying it because you had 75% possession and should have won the game, but I did feel that was a foul, and you're quite unlucky not to get at least one penalty in that game.
At least one, yeah. I completely agree. And we hit the crossbar as well. So, listen, chances-wise and possession-wise, we should have won the game. But this is the problem. We don't want to be that team that's relying on a penalty to try and nick a game, especially a win against Swansea, who you've done last year. Oh, I know the away game was a bit tough until the last three minutes. We've done them 3-1 with 3 late goals. But the home game was probably the easiest game we've had all year. And if anything, we've nicked one of their players. Everton's nicked their other best player. they've weakened, if anything. Renato Sanchez looked well off the pace, so it's not like he made a big influence. So regardless, we should have been comfortably winning that game anyway. But as you said, we don't know exactly what this issue is with Wembley. Whether it's a crowd issue, yeah, it is very different to White Hart Lane. It's pretty much no disrespect to Arsenal, but it's similar to Emirates. It's like going to a museum. You got a lot of it's no disrespect to people, but it's not football fans. It's a bunch of people going there, spend your weekend with a family or a bunch of tourists. Of course, that's something we've got to get used to, especially with the new White Hart Lane. We know that it's a lot more commercial, the game. It's not going to be your diehard fans and all the chanting and so on and encouragement. It's nothing like that anymore. But at the end of the day, these players they're professional footballers. They should be able to do it behind closed doors. They should be able to do it in front of the fans. So hopefully time will tell. I've just checked now. I don't think it's going too well at the minute. We're drawing 0-0 to Barnsley, which is probably our hardest game of the season so far. So,
but Poch doesn't care. Poch doesn't care about the Crapo Cup.
I agree.
But he should though. He should, because
like Mourinho.
No, listen. For me, all right. When you look at the trophies that we're all competing for, you're looking at number one for me is the Champions League. It's debatable whether you want to put the Champions League or the Premier League at number one, but those two are undoubtedly the top two. Then you got the FA Cup, then you got the League Cup or the Coca-Cola Carabao, whatever they bloody calling it this year. But for me, you can only disregard those competitions when you're competing in the others. And for me, as good as Tottenham have been in recent seasons, they've not achieved anything. And just think what a confidence boost it would be for that young group of players if Pochettino went out there and won one of those trophies. For me, as much as it's not the glamorous trophy anymore that it once was, it still means something, and it still should be regarded as a piece of silverware, because that's what it is at the end of the day.
I get what you're saying, Harry, but I'll be honest with you. What's the last thing we won was against Carling Cup against Chelsea, and the time before that was 99 against Leicester. And then the time before that was 91 FA Cup. Out of those three, in the past, 27 years, 28 years, the only one that all three remember, but the only one people actually care about is the 91. Probably because we beat Arsenal in the way and so on, the Gaza goal and so on. It's a nothing cup. Regardless of what people make, yeah, I know players get a medal out. These players don't care, mate. Trust me. These cups, they do not care about. There's only one. Me personally, number one, especially in the situation we're in, if I could see Spurs win a league once, they can go into liquidation. I don't care. That's all I want. I just want to see my team win it once, and then they can disappear. Then it's as far as you can go in Champions League. I'm not an idiot, mate. Listen, we got the hardest group out there. Enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy every away game. Sod it. Why not? Dortmund away, and for us Cyprus as well, going to Cyprus as well. Happy days. And you got Real Madrid as well. Just enjoy it. Winning at Dortmund, right? Got a bit of a chance now. Beat the Cypriots twice, beat Abuel twice. That's 9 points. Get 10 points, you got a good chance. Had we not beaten Dortmund, I reckon the manager would have kept his mouth shut last night or this morning, whenever the press conference was. I think winning against Dortmund, giving him a bit of a 1 minute, we could make the next stage. Because I wrote us off versus also that group. It was like, you know what, enjoy it as a Spurs fan, because we're not going very far. But seeing what Dortmund were like, and depending on when they get their players back, we got a half decent chance qualifying.
Sorry, go on.
And I'm not fine, but when you go to where did we go last time? Quarterfinals with the likes of Crouch, Palacios, Gomez. You never know, mate. Just take as much as you can.
I think you've also, because I would disagree with you, Harry, you've got to consider how Spurs play. I know you won't like this as an excuse because they should be able to play 2-3 games a week, but they do press a bit like Liverpool. So if you look at the weekend, they were always pressing with three. So depending on what side it was either Kane, Ali, and Sissoko, or Kane, Ali, and Eriksen. So those players need a rest, more than potentially the way other teams play. I know what you're going to say, and I know because it's the common argument. But gone. The
whole second half was played in one half of the pitch, though.
But they press right from the start, right from the front. It's not like they press like other teams do. With literally, Kane is pressing, and it works all the way back with Lloris coming out as a sweeper. So,
look, I just think if you want to compete for major honours, you need to be able to play 2 games a week. It's part and parcel of it. It's become a squad game now. And I've always said that until Spurs actually achieve something, they shouldn't be writing off these competitions. And I'm not just picking on Spurs here, because I would say the same thing about Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. I would say exactly the same thing. You know, Jurgen Klopp plays this exciting attacking football, qualify for the Champions League. But what's the next step? Now you need to get some silverware. That is the next step. Panny, what do you think Tottenham can achieve this season?
Don't know, mate. I know we've started off weak at home, but we've only lost 1 game, and that was against the title winners last year, the champions. So it's not a crisis. Don't get me wrong. Every Spurs fan, as soon as that final whistle went last week, you got the players on the floor, every fan effing and blinding out the ground. It's frustrating, especially when you're that close. And as I said before, mate, all we want is to win it once. We've never tasted it. People, unless you're God knows how old, you've never tasted it. And if you do remember it back then good on you. But we've never had it. All we want is just have that one chance. Now we've come close twice. The most gutting one is, of course, the one at Leicester, the one when you lot finished above us, only because we lost it to Leicester. How we not lost it to Leicester and we lost it to Chelsea, so I don't feel hurt as much. But when you lose to Leicester, you're thinking, right, we've got one more chance here. We're not stupid. We know what Man United and Man City are going to do. We knew we had 2 years to try and win it. Whether you class it as bottle it, you never know. You don't know what happened behind in those changing rooms or what was going on for those players' heads when they lost their heads against Chelsea and West Ham. Because you come so close twice, all these fans now saying, oh, if we finish 5th, 6th, it's not a crisis. Me personally, you have to finish top 4. You have to go into a new stadium with Champions League. And if we get top 4, I'll be happy. Aim as high as possible. If we finish 4th or 3rd, especially against the likes of Chelsea, me personally, I think Chelsea's going to win it anyway this year. But then you got City, United, who look strong. They look scary. That's how strong they look. If you finish just below them, I'll be happy. For me, it's just a matter of finishing above Liverpool and Arsenal. Forget Everton. I don't think they'll finish anywhere near.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Alavi, what do you think Tottenham should be aiming to achieve this season? What would be a good season for them?
I think top 4, if I'm honest with you, because all the other teams have, Man City have certainly strengthened, Man United has strengthened. So I think top 4 and a half decent run in the Champions League. It's just interesting how much you'd rather win the league than the Champions League. So it's just interesting hearing it from like a fan's perspective that the league is still, and maybe even, I don't know, for you, Harry, maybe it's a bit different, but because you've won the league more recently, but the league seems to still be the bread and butter for a lot of fans. But in answer to your question, yeah, I think top 4, and there's no reason why they can't do it. Like Panny said, they've only lost once. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, they're just the issue Spurs have at the moment is they've not done that well against the bottom, say 6, 7 so far this season, and I'm pretty sure they took full points, as in the maximum amount of points last year from those sort of teams. So I think that's what's going to make the difference. I think you got West Ham next, or
got West Ham away.
If that's another, it's like a voodoo game. But then it's not a bad run of fixtures, I think. So now's the time to kick on, I think, for Spurs. Right? Don't think they've got a tough fixture for a few weeks. Top 6 wise, anyway.
I think it's the next home one. That's a big one. We've got West Ham, pretty confident. From what I've seen of West Ham, they're not looking too great. They're going to get. They could fall down there, in that bottom 3 at the end of the year. You never know. Of course, because of the history we saw what happened last year, that we're their cup final. You never know what West Ham's going to turn up against us. It could be West Ham of, no disrespect, Barnet, or it could be West Ham of Real Madrid standards. That it's just hit and miss with them.
Or the lasagna ones.
Oh, exactly. Remember that one? Cheers for that. So you never know, but I think beat West Ham, win that next home one. This thing with the Wembley, it must be playing on their heads. Because it's playing on our heads as fans. So God knows what the manager's thinking and the players. But regardless of whether the manager acts cool and says, "Oh, we beat Dortmund," this and that. Beating Dortmund is one thing. Me personally, against Dortmund, we played that game to win it. It wasn't nice. It was ugly. But if that's what it takes us to win that first Premier League game, just do it. I think it's against Huddersfield. Have to win that first one.
Okay. Another team who failed to claim all 3 points at the weekend was Liverpool. Sean Dyche's side spoilt their party as the Reds celebrated their 125th year anniversary. They also had a whole host of attempts at goal, 35 to be specific, but couldn't find the winner. Alavi, you said on previous shows that Liverpool's system is what's letting them down. How do you explain them having 35 attempts at goal and not managing to win the game?
I mean, we'll take the penalty aside because, again, I think that was a clear penalty. There's a difference between having chances and clear-cut chances. And like you sort of alluded to, they just don't seem to have that plan B where they can sit back, maybe not create so many chances, but create less very good chances rather than 35 sort of half chances, which is what they did. I think they need a centre-back, and they need it desperately. I think Klopp, I really used to rate him, and slowly I'm maybe coming around to the other side because he just seems to be making the same mistakes in the transfer market. You know, maybe they should have just really broke the bank and got Van Dijk from Southampton, because the only recognisable quality centre-back they seem to have at the moment is Matip. Like, Lovren's got old overnight, and I just don't know, something. It's like, if it doesn't work for Klopp in the first half an hour against the team that sits back, he just sort of shrugs his shoulders. It's like he's got nothing else to do, nothing else planned. So, yeah, look, Spurs just had as many chances and didn't score either. So it's just about clinical finishing, and how many clinical finishers do Liverpool have? You know, and Sturridge when he's not injured, but who else?
Yeah, fair enough. Panny, what do you think's gone wrong at Liverpool? I mean, I know it's early days and we don't want to overreact, but Liverpool just don't look like a complete outfit, in my view anyway. What do you think they're missing?
I think it's been the same thing, mate, since Klopp's been there. I'm not a big fan of Klopp, to be honest, mate. I think his character's the reason why he's still got that job, if anything, or why he's got himself where he is. Everyone loves him. He's a bit enthusiastic on the sideline, always smiley, this and that, giving these players the hugs and stuff like that. For me, all I look at is his records in the finals. How many finals he lost now? Is it 6 or 7? So it's stupid. But it's a funny one. Going back to what you guys were saying earlier with the centre-back situation, they've needed a centre-back for years. And even when they signed Lovren, I think for a couple of weeks, everyone hyped up a bit. His first couple of games were useless. Now, I'm not being funny, but they've got Coutinho there. As good as that guy is deadly. I think he's one of the best. Bar David Silva, I think he's probably the best creative midfielder in the country. If he wants out, let him go. Cash in on him, whatever it was, 140, 130 mil. Go give Southampton the 70 million they wanted for the centre-back. Go get, apparently Lewandowski wasn't too happy over the summer. Go and smash the bank. Go get him. Go get a proper out-and-out striker. There's your team done. I think it's a weird one because they do it every year. I remember when even Wigan win the Premier League and they used to lose against Wigan at home, like random teams. Yet they'll go and spank you guys, for example, 4-0. Whether that's because you guys were all four, whether that's they play well regardless, they've gone to beat Arsenal 4-0. So they're a funny one. But again, I always look, you got to look at the manager a bit as well. He's a bit of an odd one. I just can't. I just don't like him. I don't think he's as good as he makes out. I think he speaks a good game. And I think the Scousers love it, the way he is and the way he hypes them up. But yeah, it's all passion, but sometimes passion, no, it's not always passion that wins you the games. If anything, sometimes it turns it around. I remember against Seville in the final, they were winning at half time. My guy's running the tunnel like he's already won the cup. They've come out like a completely different team. I think he slightly puts them on edge a bit. So yeah. I don't know, they're a weird one. So I don't know, my liking about 2 weeks, I went up spanking us at Wembley anyway.
So are we in agreement that Klopp has to deliver this season?
Yeah.
Alavi?
But we all predicted them to finish outside the top 4. So what's delivering?
Well, surely, and I've always said this. I'll go back to Spurs for a minute as well. I've always said in the past that qualifying for the Champions League once means nothing. You need to do it on a consistent basis, and that's how you raise the profile of your club. And when you're in it consistently, the top players will be attracted to your club because they want to play in it year in, year out. Now, Liverpool need to make the top four again. It's no good doing it once and then being out of it for 3 or 4 years. They need to do it again. But, you know, will that be good enough for Liverpool, for the board? Will they be happy enough with that? Are the fans happy enough with that? I mean,
Coutinho won't be happy enough with that, will he? Because, like Panny said, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned David Silva because he's my favourite player, and I still think he's by far the best creative player in the Premier League. But Coutinho isn't too far behind, and if they're not finishing top four, he's gone. He's probably gone anyway.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I reckon he's out anyway, mate.
But
yeah, I think he's gone as well. And it's nice to see the Ox getting a chance in the middle of the bench at least, where he belongs. Right, let's move on from Liverpool. Arsenal shocked the world by keeping a clean sheet at Stamford Bridge. Turns out Arsenal can defend after all. Panny, I know you won't want to praise Arsenal, so we'll get you out of the way first. What were your thoughts on that one?
I don't know, mate. Where credit's due, mate. Go look at the manager. You see what I put on Facebook a lot. Think I want for you. The way you guys lined up against Chelsea, pretty simple. Because I was watching in a bar with a few gooners around as well, and everyone's going mad about Sanchez. Everyone's, why ain't he playing? Why ain't he doing this? Why is he doing that? All he's done is playing players that actually want to play now. Well, you think they'd want to play, and it works. Going back to Spurs as well, mate. I think us and you guys got the same problem. There's some players that don't want to play. Me personally, regardless of who you are, if you don't want to play for that club, just leave. There's no point you being there because you're not going to perform. For me, I think the difference between you guys on Saturday compared to Liverpool was you had 11 players that actually wanted to play. And if anything, I thought you lot should have nicked it. I thought you lot put out a performance.
I don't think that's strictly true in terms of not wanting to play. I think Ozil does want to play against your West Broms at home when he can dictate things. I don't think I would play him against the top 6 side away from home when I'm trying to play a defensive game, when I need every single player to work their socks off. Because you got to look at that and think, well, wait a minute, Ozil didn't play, Sanchez didn't play, yet the whole team came together, played quite defensively. The two that you've been having to go out all season, Harry, Xhaka and Ramsey, delivered perfectly, stayed in position. But so something's got to be. I mean, you're all right. Let me ask you a question. You're going next week again to Chelsea away or City away, and Wenger's finally got this way of playing defensively and actually grinding out a result. And Ozil's injury free. You're going to pick him?
No, I wouldn't pick him.
Then
I just want to clarify where you said I've been having a go at Xhaka and Ramsey
all season.
I've been having a go at the lack of balance in our midfield, and I've been blaming Ramsey more than Xhaka because he's the one that's been going on gallivanting up and down the pitch and choosing to ignore his defensive responsibilities. This week, I gave him credit. I put up a video earlier on today, and I gave him credit because Aaron Ramsey found the balance this week. And I don't know if that's because Iwobi was there, because Welbeck was there, and because they were helping out in the midfield, because Kolasinac was playing on the left rather than an unnatural Bellerin playing there. You know, everything looked a lot more comfortable. We actually had 3 capable centre-halves playing there. And I think Ramsey got the balance right. So credit where it's due. You know, he was brilliant this weekend. The balance was on point. I thought the centre-backs in particular were fantastic. I got to give credit to Mustafi because I've criticised him in the past. I've said he's not as good a defender as everyone makes out. And, you know, he had Morata in his pocket for the whole game. You know, there was a few times where balls went in behind. He kept up with him. He kept tight, kept close to him, basically had him in his pocket. Pani mentioned the decision to leave Sanchez out, and yeah, that was a massive decision. And I was one of those people that was astonished when I saw the lineup. I thought, Arsene, what are you doing? And not because I was so annoyed that Sanchez was left out, but I just thought Arsene Wenger was setting himself up for criticism if we got beat. And you know, it doesn't take much for everyone to get on his back. But yeah, like you said, there was players that wanted to be on the pitch. They all put a shift in. And there's been rumours, you know, over the summer that there were other players, Koscielny, Mertesacker, Walcott, I think were three that were mentioned that were unhappy with Sanchez and his attitude, and had asked the manager, you know, to sell him and get rid of him, and let's get on with things because he doesn't want to be here. Ultimately, look, the team came together and put a fantastic performance. And like Pani said, you know, you got to give Wenger credit because we're usually so quick to criticize him that it's only fair that we give him credit when he deserves it. But do I expect Arsenal to put that kind of performance in many more times this season? Probably not. Because I'm not trying to take anything away from Arsenal, but Chelsea weren't at their best in my opinion.
Felt Fabregas really, he didn't look comfortable where he was trying to play him. I don't think he's got the legs to play that far back. And you see when they switched it up in the second half, Chelsea did look a bit stronger. I think the one player you missed out, I guess you mentioned him with Ramsey, but Xhaka had one of the best games I've seen him play. Apart from the first sort of 10 minutes, I thought he looked so composed. I didn't know he was like that good on the ball, unless he just had an off game. But he barely lost the ball. I was really impressed with him. I was sort of like, he played when he first joined Arsenal, and I thought he was impressive. So unless I've missed him being that good, I was really impressed with him. I thought he was the difference, if I'm honest.
I think with Xhaka, what it is, I think he is very comfortable on the ball. And my criticism of him at times would be sometimes I feel like he tries to play that killer pass too early. He looks for that ball over the top when, you know, sometimes you need to grind these teams down and you need to move the ball quickly with zip and wait for those gaps to appear. Whereas I feel sometimes he picks up the ball from the centre half and he just looks for that diagonal pass over the top that looks great, but in reality, it's not the Arsenal way, and it isn't going to work for us.
I think that's what it is, though. I think you hit it now on the head. It's not the Arsenal way, and I think that's sometimes you can't play that Arsenal way. You need the players to play that Arsenal way, and I think there's time. Like when you lot came down to us last year, I think every single person left there thinking, "What was that all about?" That's probably one of the weakest. Not as in the team as individuals, but as a weak Arsenal side, you lot used to come down to us, mate. And any Spurs fan that ever says he was confident against you guys during that era with the Invincibles, and even before that, like around 98 onwards, liars, mate. Because we feared you lot every single time we played you guys. If we won it, it was like a cup final for us. I think that's what, and the manager's to blame as well. As good as he is, I think that's where he's trying to get certain players to play a certain way, but I just think they physically can't. Going back to Xhaka, I don't know, is he a hard man? Is he a player? Is he a ball player? Is he a creative player? No, I don't. No one knows. To be fair to him, as you said, I think him and Ramsey absolutely bossed that midfield against Chelsea. I think they roughed them up. I think you lot roughed Chelsea up. Like your left back as well. He knows how to put it about, and that's in games like that. That's what you need.
Yeah, I mean,
like Iwobi as well. I mean, who's more of an Arsenal player, Iwobi or Ozil? All right, you're going to say Ozil, but Iwobi, I'd like to know how much distance he covered, because Ozil won't be covering that distance in a season.
Do you know what? In Ozil's defence, when you do look at the stats, he does cover a lot of distance. Whether he walks it is another issue, but he does cover quite a bit of distance. In terms of, like, you know, players like Iwobi and stuff, I just felt that Arsenal just understood that we were not the favourites here, knew the job that we had to do and just got it done. And it was so pleasing to see that. And you know what? I genuinely don't think we would have played as well if Sanchez was in the team for a number of reasons. Number one, I think he affects the spirit. I think having a player there that clearly doesn't want to be at their club doesn't do any good to the rest of the team, especially if these stories are true that a load of them fell out with him over the summer. That's another reason. Sanchez would have been trying to play on the front foot a little bit more. Perhaps we would have got caught out. I'm not sure, you know, but ultimately Wenger got it right. So we can go around in circles, but he got it right.
I think Sanchez gives you that option of playing that pass through the middle as well. And I think Arsenal kept the ball a bit better without looking for that pass straight away because of his pace. Because you see him go and you think, right, I'll get him now. I'll send that pass through. Whilst instead, someone like Xhaka just held it for a second, played it back to someone like Mustafi, who's very comfortable on the ball. So, yeah, but he's still the best player you've got by quite some way. So you wouldn't not play him next game.
No, of course. But going back to Xhaka as well, like Paddy said, where you said you don't know if he's a hard man or a ball player. For me, Xhaka at his best can do both, and that's what's so good about him. And if he can find a way of producing those performances consistently, then there's no reason why he can't be one of the better midfielders in the league, because he's got everything. He's physical. He can play a pass. He's got both sides to the game. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on throughout the course of the season. Manchester United cruised to another victory, but Everton seemed to be in a spot of bother. Considering how much was spent during the summer, is it time to start ringing the alarm bells? Alavi, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Well, I think he's now second favourite to be sacked. He bought how many? 9 players in? I think he missed the boat on certain players because he wanted Giroud. He wanted the kid from Dortmund. I think his name's Emre. And I think they also miss pace in the midfield, because if you're going to play like they did against Man United, which was, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to counter you, like Leicester used to do. You need someone quick, someone like Vardy to just stretch the opposition. Okay, he might not win every ball, but at least you give it to him and let him stretch your opposition's defence and midfield. Now they playing Rooney, who had a good game, but he didn't have the legs anymore. Who else did they have? Davis and one other who isn't particularly quick. The name will come to me in a sec. Now they've got someone like Mirallas on the bench who is quick. So I just can't understand why they just didn't use his pace to try and stretch Man United. That's the only thing you can do on a counter-attack. So I do feel that they didn't quite buy the players they should have. They've got, I think, 3 recognised centre-forwards until January. That's not enough. And one of them, however good he is, and I rate him, Wayne Rooney's not going to play every game, which is why I mentioned someone like Giroud would have been a good buy for them. Sylvie Giddison was the other player, lovely player, but did he succeed at Spurs? Can he play at that higher level? Is he quick? No. So they just don't have enough pace, and you can't win games playing on the counter attack without that. So be interested to see what you think, but second favourite to get the sack. It doesn't look good for him.
Yeah, I think you've got to be fair as well, though, to Everton, because if you look at their fixtures, their last few fixtures, they drew at City, they lost at Chelsea, lost at home to Spurs, they went away to Atalanta in the Europa League and got thumped, and they were beaten by United. So they've played City, Chelsea, Spurs, and United out in their 5 games.
Yeah.
So is it a bit early to turn up the heat on?
They've got the next 3 fixtures or something like Brighton, Bournemouth, and Burnley, I think, in some sort of order. And the 4 you mentioned were the sort of top 4 favourites. So I think it's more that they never looked competitive. And you expect that from Everton.
But they looked competitive at City, didn't they?
Okay, but you never really felt they were going to win the game. They looked completely disconsolate against Man United, didn't they? They gave up. A bit like Watford. After 2-0, you just thought, they're not bothered anymore.
Yeah. Panny, what do you think of Everton? Is it too early to criticise Ronald Koeman?
Mate, it's tough. When you go and buy so many players in one hit, it's going to take time. They've got a decent manager as well. If anything, if there was anyone I thought that would take over from Wenger, I thought it would be Ronald Koeman when he was at Southampton. He knows what he's doing. But you can't buy, was it 9 or 10 players, that, especially first-team players, stick them all in one team and expect it to work. If anyone, the only one that's going to settle in is the goalkeeper. The rest are pretty much all over the gaff. But once it works, I think it'll be fine. Just for his sake, I hope they give the manager a bit of time, because once he susses it out, I reckon they'll be all right. But I think the main one is Vardy. Why they never got Vardy, I will never know. if you're splashing money like that, he's ideal, especially for the way they play. If you're going to lose Lukaku, who I'm not a massive fan of, but give that guy 5 chances, he'll probably score 2, or he'll guarantee score 1. Now, if you've taken, say, an average of 1 or 2 goals a game out, and you're going to replace him with Sandro, who I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched much of him previously, and then Rooney, who's, as you said, he's not the same Rooney of 3-4 years ago or before that, and you're expecting the same result. It's not going to happen. So me personally, I've just got Vardy, try to sort that out. And the other one is Sigurdsson. I think once he settles in, I reckon he'll be good, but I don't feel he'll be as good as they're expecting. I watched him play for 2 years straight, and I think he's one of those players that fits a lot better in a much smaller club than when there's in a much bigger club with higher expectations. I don't think he's that good. I think he's good, excellent. But I think it's a bit much of a big job for him to succeed. But no, I reckon give him time, because as you say, if his second favourite gets sacked, then that's pretty ludicrous, because they're going to be safe. They're not going to exactly go down. I reckon the ones who think they're going to finish top 4, yeah, it's not going to happen. If they finish top 7, top 6, they've had a good season, and then just look forward to next year. Because we went through it as well when we sold Bale. With the Bale money, we went and got all these players from all over the shop. It takes time. Right? In the end, we didn't have the patience for it and sold 8 out of the 9 or 7 out of the 8, whatever it was, and kept Eriksen. But I reckon these guys will be all right, but it will take time.
There's a player in Spain that they were going to go for, and then they didn't want to break his release clause. And I think Liverpool are in for him this January, and I'll rate him really highly. We spoke about him about a year ago on one of our first shows, Harry, called Inaki Williams. He plays at Bilbao.
Yep.
Honestly, he's I don't rate him as high as I rate someone like Niguez of Saul Niguez of Atletico, but he's just that one level below. He's quality, and I'd love him to be in the Premiership. I think there, because when you get 80, 90 million, whatever it ended up being for Lukaku, just overpay, like what you guys think at your club. Just overpay 10, 15 million and get a talent like Inaki Williams for 45 million and let him make a difference, because someone like him will make a difference at any club.
Okay, interesting. Manchester City blew a so far impressive Watford side out of the water at Vicarage Road on Saturday. Pep's side hit them for 6, although 1 or 2 of them could have been flagged for offside. Alavi, you're a massive fan of Pep. You sing his praises all the time. Is he now in the driving seat to win a Premier League title with that squad?
I think, yeah. I mean, I like him because I like his style. I think he's got, like we said earlier, I think David Silva's got this renewed energy from somewhere. He looks class. Kevin De Bruyne's been shifted from the wing to, and I didn't think this would work, but he's brought in where sort of David Silva was playing last season, which is a little bit deeper, like a deeper conductor role, and he looks really good. Aguero, for me, is still the best player in the Premiership. They just look scary. He's somehow keeping them all happy on the bench. You look at that bench, we don't need to go through the names, I'm sure you know them, but that's an unreal array of talent to have to come off your bench. You know, the style of football is obviously looking good. They're dangerous from set pieces. You know, Aguero, Otamendi, they look good from set pieces. It's just that spine through the team, especially the KDB, who my bet of 20-1 of being player of the year is looking quite good now, to Silva, to Aguero. And everyone, and me and you, Harry, we had this conversation about how's he going to fit Aguero and Jesus in the same team? Well, they're all laughing at us now because they look like they're going to be the deadliest strike partnership possibly in Europe. So you'll see what happens when they sort of have all the whole host of games that they've got coming up throughout the season in the Champions League, to see if they really can cope. And I know they won the first 10 games last season, but this is looking a bit different. Do you not think, the way that Kevin De Bruyne, especially Silva, those two especially are playing at the moment?
I'll be honest, I've not seen too much of City in terms of full games this season, so I've only seen a couple. But yeah, of course, I mean, when you look at it on paper, they're probably by far the strongest side. And you know what? If it's between Pep and Jose, I'll pick Pep every day of the week. So,
but the scary thing is that they were in for Sanchez. like that. If I was a fan of a rival club, does that not scare you that he's still thinking, oh, do you know what I could do with one of the other top side's best player as well?
I was surprised because when you look at the array of attacking talent he has, it's hard to see where he would fit him in, but you can never have too many good players, I guess, and it's a nice problem to have from a manager's point of view. Panny, are they your favourites for the title? Or I think you said Chelsea earlier on.
I still fancy Chelsea to tip it, but they're pretty much a dream team. As you said before, their bench is frightening. Their bench will probably walk into most first teams. But I think where they may buckle, as we've seen with Pep, his priority is always Champions League, wherever he's been. So I think once that starts coming into it, if they start struggling in the Champions League, I think that's where I reckon Chelsea might tip it in the Premier League. But me personally, especially Champions League, I fancy City or Real Madrid. They are that good, especially attacking. For me, Kevin De Bruyne, if you've done that bet, you might as well just cash out from now, mate, because that's going to come in. Because that guy is unbelievable. I know a few Watford fans as well that went up to the game, and they were saying that whether they took him off or one of the goals, they just gave. I think when they took him off, they gave him a standing ovation. And a lot of Watford fans were saying as well before the game, like joking about saying, "Oh, well, last year we beat him 5-0. At least it won't be the same this year," and it ended up being 6. But whereas last year Watford lost the game and they were going for the manager and saying they want him out and so on. Literally this year, apparently they'll just literally applauding every single Man City player because they're out of this world. They're just a pleasure to watch. It's one of those games, one of those teams where you'd actually be happy to pay to watch these players play. They're on another level, but I don't know. There's something about Chelsea that I think they've just got that cutting edge.
I think De Bruyne has gone from like a fast, pacey winger, like a Sterling and Pep's had a look and thought, do you know what? You've got a bit more intelligence about you. You can play that deep line sort of conductor or orchestrator or playmaker, whatever you want to call it.
It's a big word
deep
for you,
line
Alavi.
position. Yeah, 3 in a row. I've got that toilet roll that gives you a new word every day. What was I saying? Oh, my thoughts are completely discombobulated.
We were talking about
it's another one. No, so yeah, he's obviously seen that De Bruyne has got a bit more intelligence about him than maybe other managers have picked up on, and he's using him in a position where he's a lot more effective. I mean, look, City don't exactly play a wing attacking game anyway, do they? They just leave that to the 2 fullbacks. You know, everyone tucks in, but he is suited in that position, and Silva a bit more further on just to provide the little dinks here and there to Aguero and Jesus up front. It's just working well. I just don't know how he's going to keep everyone happy. I don't know how you keep that many good players happy.
Yeah, I
That's
guess
the challenge.
While you're winning, it's not really too much of an issue.
No.
Alavi, I know you covered La Liga for us this weekend. Do you want to give us a little quick roundup of the main talking points?
Yeah, I just wrote down what the new Atletico Madrid stadium was called. So,
here we go.
All right. So they won their first game at it's in big letters, Wanda Metropolitano. So,
oh my God, he's done it again.
Pretty good.
Just for our listeners' reference, Alavi cannot pronounce anything. What did you call Sigurdsson earlier on?
Well.
What did you call Sigurdsson?
Gylfi Sigurdsson.
I swear he said something else earlier, but
no, it was a connection. Anyway, so Atletico Madrid won. I think Griezmann scored the only goal of the game. And I think they've got Bilbao next, so that'll be a decent game because Bilbao are looking quite decent this season. So onto the 2 sort of big sides. Harry, we both watched the Madrid game. I'm not going to go through a match report because that's obviously available on any sort of half-decent internet site. But the only weak point that I can think of, and I know you mentioned it as well, is their keeper. He does look once in a while like he's just going to throw the ball sort of in the net, doesn't he? Like, I don't see how such a great team, and they are the best team in Europe, don't get me wrong. He does look suspect still, so I don't know if he'll be replaced in January or are they still hoping on De Gea. I really don't know. But look, everything's just going for Zidane, if I'm honest. Like, he took a gamble and they've got injuries at the moment, and he brought on this kid called Mayoral, I think his name is. And you saw the game. He looked good, didn't he? Like, now you take a gamble like that and you bring him on and he does it for you. Like, your luck's going your way as well. Barcelona as well, they won. They had to dig deep. I think they beat Getafe 2-1 in the end it was. The real big talking point from there is Dembele. They've bought him for 108, 110 million euros or something, and he's off for 4 months.
Do you know what? I was more shocked by Paulinho scoring the winner.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that guy was alive until they signed him.
The thing is, he's going to be sidelined for 4 months, and that's going to be a real blow because, they've bought him from Borussia Dortmund. He's meant to sort of not replace Neymar, but at least go somewhere into replacing Neymar. I don't know who he's going to turn to because I like Deulofeu, but I don't know if he's quite good enough in that position. Do they go for Suarez? Obviously, Denis Suarez they've got there. Do they go for Vidal? Do they go? Who's the other one? Alcacer. It's a tough one. Not that Dembele looked particularly amazing anyway, but they're the two main sort of talking points. Madrid's keeper having a howler, but them still winning the game, which I know you watched as well, and Dembele being injured for 4 months.
Alavi, we've got to discuss that temporary stand that was put up behind the goal at Real Sociedad's ground. I don't know if anyone's seen it,
Yeah.
but they put a temporary stand up
at the Anoeta. Yeah,
and I understand it's to bring the fans closer to the pitch is what I read. But the bloody thing looks like it's going to collapse. And I know when Sociedad scored and they all rushed forward, they injured the cameraman who had to go off on a stretcher. That's unbelievable.
It's good they only scored one, to be honest, because that looks suspect.
I mean, they never
like the sort of thing I've designed.
They'd never get through health and safety in England, that's for sure. Just before we move on from La Liga, Pani, quickly, who do you fancy to win it? Do you think it's Real Madrid's again, or can Barcelona get back in there and mount a serious challenge?
Real, mate. I don't know. I think the Neymar move, especially now with Dembele, but regardless of whoever they brought in, it's going to be tough to replace Neymar. Put it this way, I reckon by PSG signing Neymar, PSG got a decent chance in Champions League. That changes everything. That's how highly I rate that kid. But yeah, I fancy Real Madrid. They're very strong, especially when you got Ronaldo out and then just all right, that's fine. Put Asensio in unless he shaves his legs and he's out for another week. But yeah, especially like with Bale scoring, he scored a quality goal. It's typical, not even a quality goal. It's just a typical Bale kind of goal. And I think that's what whether it's a confidence thing or it's just something that he's lacked and they've lacked as a team. But when's Ronaldo back? 3 more games?
Two.
So yeah, 2 more games. So once he's back, I don't know. I can't see anyone stopping him.
Yeah, fair enough.
But they boo Bale. They boo Ronaldo when he's not having it. Like, there must be the worst set of fans.
Most demanding fans in football.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It is shocking at times. Over in Serie A, Inter continue. Here we go. Are we going to have this argument again for the 15th time? Serie A is as good as any league in Europe, mate. Anyway, Inter continued their impressive start with a 2-0 win at Crotone. Roma beat Hellas Verona by 3 at the Olimpico. Champions Juve won at Sassuolo by 3-1, I believe it was.
Yep.
Dybala absolutely stealing the show. Milan won again 2-1 against Udinese. Napoli thrashed De Luca's local side, Benevento. Shout out to Mr. De Luca, who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight. But he won't be too happy with that one. Just a couple of other stories from around Europe while we're here. This whole Neymar and Cavani incident. Apparently they argued, and they've been arguing about who's going to take set pieces. If you're a manager, how on earth do you resolve that when you've got 2 massive egos clashing about who's going to take set pieces? Pani.
Just make a decision, mate. That should have been dealt with from training and from before the game anyway. But I don't know what. I think everyone's making a big deal because of the price tag and they're thinking, let's try and stir things up a bit. Mate, they both just want to score goals. I don't see it as being a massive problem. I'd want that. I'd want my 2 strikers to challenge themselves. They're not coming to blows or anything like that. One's grab the ball, put it down, and whatever, swipe his leg away to move out of the way, kind of thing. Nothing like just handbag kind of thing. I don't see the big deal in it. I think the media pushing it a lot more than what actually was. But yeah, really, you'd think the manager would have sussed this out because I think it started from a free kick, and I think Dani Alves got involved. He kind of took the ball away from Cavani and gave it to his mate Neymar. So it was like being back at school kind of thing. But yeah, you think the manager would have told them from before, from training, who's on penalties, who's on throws, free kicks, and so on. So a bit of a weird one, but I'm sure they'll get it resolved. But I think the Cavani missed it as well. So
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, so it puts your own teammate on edge as well. So I don't know, it's a bit of a funny one.
Remember, the Canu used to do it at West Ham. He just used to take the ball off like Frank Lampard when he was when he wasn't sure.
Well, it's a bit difficult to get a deflection from a penalty, so that's probably why Frank Lampard wasn't trusted. But you'd back Cavani if they did come to blows. You got to say,
yeah, true.
For sure.
That's it. Another thing that's been in the news actually today, the chant that the Manchester United fans have come up with for Romelu Lukaku, referring to his 24-inch penis. It's been slammed by some of the anti-discriminatory groups because apparently it refers to a racial stereotype. Look, there's no place for racism in football, but would you be offended if someone was talking about how big your knob was, Alavi?
Well, unfortunately, it's not anything I've really had to deal with in the past. No, much the opposite. But that's not really an insult, is it? It's a compliment, if anything. I think there's a way you say things. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have a joke with me about certain things and vice versa, but I wouldn't accept it of someone else. And I think they're not saying it in a nasty way, are they? So, I don't know. Sometimes I think people just need a story, don't they? Nothing.
It's been blown way out of proportion, in my opinion.
And maybe they're telling the truth.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, hopefully we never find out. But Panny, what do you make of the whole story? Oh, we've lost him.
He's probably going to find pictures.
We've lost him. Moving on to Rio Ferdinand. He wants to take up boxing. Alavi, you're a big boxing enthusiast. First of all, has he got a chance in hell of becoming competitive? And secondly, is this just another publicity stunt?
The reason I read was that he's doing it because he started training to get over the loss of his wife. So I guess that is quite hard to argue against, isn't it? Like, when someone sort of comes up with a reason. The one thing he will be is, obviously, he'll be fast track. So there's plenty of talented boxers across the country who will never get the chance because they won't have the promoter, they won't have the fans, they won't have the media interest. And obviously, this has been done before. I don't know if some of the, you remember Mackenzie. There's a more famous one who actually ended up winning a Curtis Woodhouse, who actually ended up winning a super lightweight British title in, I think it was a few years ago, against Darren Hamilton. And they both played in the Premier League and they made it. So as an athlete, obviously he looks like he could have the physique of a boxer. But as someone who's, and I've done it to a half decent level, everything changes when you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And that's for difference. And running up and down a football pitch is different to hitting a bag for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So, look, he wants to go at cruiserweight. Like, go and look up some of the guys who are cruiserweights and look how big they are. Like, there's a tournament going on at the moment. They're monsters. They're absolute monsters. So, like, will he ever be really competitive? No. But will it be a media interest? Well, yeah. Like, be about as interesting as Harry Redknapp's Birmingham career.
I knew you wanted to get that in. Then go on, you can have a little rant. The Luca's not here to do it, so I think
I just
only right.
I don't really want people to lose their jobs. It's not nice. But the golden five of Sherwood, Warnock, Chris Sutton now after his performance on Match of the Day, Garth Crooks and Harry Redknapp, I don't mind too much. He wanted top six. He was saying he's got all the right players. He spent all that money, record signings from the club. And he's gone already. Lovely. That shows what sticking your head out your car window will do for you. Bell end.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Garth Crooks, there was a quote from him this week in his team of the week in regards to Sead Kolasinac. I don't know if you've read it. He says, Sead Kolasinac is built like those North London brick toilets withstood the bombing raids during the Second World War. I mean, what a comparison to make.
Do you know what? Every Monday, literally, like, first thing I do, I go into work. I'm like, no one is excited to work on a Monday morning, but I am for 1 minute excited to see his team of the week. Mainly because, firstly, he picks it before all the teams have played, but also because he does stuff like, Aguero's like goal against Watford. I think if you read the same one that you've read, he compared it to Diego Maradona's against England. Or he'll play like a 2-5, and then the numbers won't even add up. It'll be like a 2-5-5-2 formation. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the numbers don't even add up to the numbers you need on a football pitch. And just to get a player in, he'll play, I don't know, he'll play Sanchez at right wing back.
Yeah, these formations are unbelievable. I saw this week's one, and it was just laughable.
Wasn't it a really attacking 3-4-3?
It was a ridiculous 3-4-3. That's what it was.
Yeah. Like, you'd never get away with it. It was like when Gosmar put that best ever Premiership side up and it had two defenders.
That's it. Right, we've come to the end of this week's edition of the Sofa Sports News Football Show. I want to say a massive thank you to Panny for joining us, and of course the Fisherman is back, and hope to have you on again next week, sir. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page, Sofa Sports News -the Football Fan Network, or we've got a Facebook group which is called the Football Fan Network, sofasportsnews.com, just the other way around. Our Twitter is @SofaSportsNews_, and our shows are available on YouTube, iTunes, the FNX Network, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. If there's decent podcast there, then Sofa Sports News is there. So make sure you head over and hit that subscribe. I can't even talk. Hit that subscribe button, guys. Big thank you to our partners. Shoot the Defense Football Show. Big shout out to Stell and the rest of the boys over there. And that's it. Cheers.
Rob Palmer, Scotland.